Rocking star Yash returns to the silver screen after 4 years with Toxic, and right from the Raya introduction teaser to the release trailer, the movie has been building a lot of hype.
Daddy's home.
But to be honest, Toxic, a fairy tale for grown-ups, feels less like a cinema milestone and more like a 3-hour trailer that forgot to pause for breath.
Be ready to battle chaos with chaos.
Before this, I have made a lot of videos on Toxic, and after watching the movie, I want to come back to 3 questions I had asked through my videos. First, is Toxic Yash's Saaho? Second, what is the Toxic problem? And last, what could have happened if Dhurandhar Part 2 and Toxic would have released together? And before I answer all 3 questions, here's my honest take after spending 3 hours and 14 minutes.
I was hoping to have a civilized conversation.
Do I look civilized to you?
Toxic is one of the most expensive, most hyped films of the year, and it's also one of the most frustrating. If you're walking and expecting the clean, punchy rhythm of KGF, you are in for a shock. Director Geetu Mohandas is clearly trying something bold here. A serious story about generational pain and bad fathers dressed up as a gangster movie. But wanting to make something big doesn't fix a 3-hour and 14-minute runtime. A lot of the storyline from the release trailer is actually different in the movie. Yash is genuinely great in the dual role, and the sets and costumes look amazing. Those are the film's high points. Everything else is a struggle. The characterization and editing is where it all falls apart. The movie is cut so fast and so hard that you never get time to sit with anything happening on screen. And it is a drag, especially in the second half. Characters show up out of nowhere, get shot, and you are left wondering who they even were. There is no emotion, no character build-up, no sense at so many different places. And it has music which has copied beats from The Dark Knight, like this one. This review has no spoilers, so I won't share any intricate details. Raya, a ruthless gangster in a heightened, dangerous version of old Goa, hands his young son off to a life without him. Along the way, there's a sister, Ganga, holding the empire together, a lover, Nadia, who couldn't stay, and a drug trade running underneath all of it as the real engine of the story. It's a father and son war spanning decades, an old idea about family and revenge dressed up as a gangster epic, and it's strong enough on paper to carry a great film. And it has a few positives which are worth mentioning. First, Yash. He didn't take the easy road after KGF. He could have played another unstoppable hero walking in slow motion while a crowd cheers him on. Instead, he played 2 broken, messed up men. As Raya, you can see small cracks in the armor. Sitting alone with a drink, you can feel the weight of a man who knows exactly what he ruined and still can't stop himself. As the grown man using digital de-aging and a totally different way of moving, he's quicker and lighter on his feet, more like a stunt performer than a typical action hero. Raya and his son feel smaller, messier, more human. You can tell Yash is trying to prove he's more than just one famous role, and for the most part, it works.
It's time. I'm coming!
Second, the look of the film. Nobody cut corners here. Goa is rebuilt as this stylish, dangerous world that feels like old world India mixed with the 1920s Chicago. Every shot has real depth to it. What really makes it work is that none of it feels like a costume party. A lot of period films just throw on old clothes and call it a day. This one goes further, using light and color to make sure you always know what decade you are in. Someone behind the camera really understood how to build a world even when the story inside that world kept losing its footing. Third, Geetu Mohandas points the camera in a different direction than most movies like this. The fight scenes focus on rougher, more real details. It makes the violence feel messy and real instead of glossy and cool. Although I will argue that some of the action sequences were completely useless.
Ladies and ladies, एक करके आओगे या एक साथ आओगे?
They did nothing to progress the story and could have easily been replaced by a chain of emotional dialogue. The women in this story also get more respect than usual for this kind of movie. Raya's sister Ganga isn't waiting to be saved. She's the one holding the whole operation together. And even with limited screen time, Nadia feels like a real person with real heartbreak, not just a pretty face in the background. Tara Sutaria, Rukmani Vasant also play their parts well, even though their roles are pretty small. Even when the script doesn't give those women enough to do, the camera still treats them like people.
Who the hell are you?
I was regular. Who the hell are you?
I was permanent.
Keep your mouth shut!
You can tell Mohandas is pushing against her own budget here. Her earlier films earned praise on the festival circuit for being patient and honest, letting characters sit in uncomfortable moments instead of rushing past them. This is by far her biggest budget and the first time she's had to answer to a huge commercial audience. Given that jump, it's impressive how much of her own voice still comes through even while fighting a system built to sell tickets first. Fourth, the ending. Without giving too much away, the last 20 minutes finally slow down enough to let the father and son stand face to face and deal with everything the movie has been building toward. Ego, pride, and violence getting passed down like a family curse, all coming to a head even if the film explains it a little too much instead of just letting you feel it.
Every choice has a price.
But all this doesn't make the movie outshine the problems it has. The biggest problem is the editing and what it does to the action. This movie runs 3 hours and 14 minutes and it's cut like a 2-minute trailer. Every action scene needs an emotional build-up. Here, there is nothing. In almost every big fight scene, the camera jumps around so fast you lose track of where anyone is standing. You can't tell who's fighting who just got hit, or why someone dropped to the floor. Good action needs a clear sense of space and timing. When you cut away from every hit before it lands, the fight stops feeling exciting and starts feeling tiring. It's a strange choice too, because the people who built these fight scenes are genuinely talented. There's a Hollywood stunt team behind it, the same people who have worked on John Wick and Fast and Furious. And you catch flashes of real skill buried in there. But that's all you get, flashes. The edit keeps cutting away right when a scene starts to build energy, like it doesn't trust you to sit through a single clean moment of action. For a movie this expensive, with talent this good on the payroll, watching it get chopped up like this is one of the most frustrating parts of the whole experience. Second, there are just too many characters and not enough time for any of them. The story covers decades and multiple generations of rival gangs, so you get Portuguese smugglers, street bosses, corrupt officials, and family members all thrown at you one after another. Several of the women in this cast show up in great costumes, look intense for a scene or two, and then disappear before you learn anything about them. Trying to keep track of who's loyal to who stops feeling like watching a story and starts feeling like a homework. When major characters die, it barely lands because the movie never gave you a reason to care about them in the first place. There is hardly any emotion in any of it. Third, the dialogue. Toxic was filmed at the same time in Kannada and English to reach a bigger audience, which is a genuinely bold move, but the English version suffers for it. The lines try to sound poetic and end up sounding stiff instead.
What's your last wish?
Oh, nothing much. I just want to snort your brother's ashes.
Almost every line is either a one-liner, trying too hard, or a big speech about blood, sin and fate. People don't really talk to each other in this movie. They give speeches at each other and you lose the kind of small human moment that make gangster classics hit so hard. Fourth, the music. Music is usually the secret weapon in movies like this. Think about what the score did for KGF. Here it feels stuck in the past, borrowing string sounds and horn cues that sound lifted straight from the Dark Knight. For a movie that looks this original, music that sounds this borrowed is a real letdown. With 5 different composers working on this soundtrack, you would expect either a strong, unique sound or at least a few songs that stick with you. Instead, it mostly blends together, doing its job in the moment and then disappearing the second the scene ends. Fifth, and underneath everything else, you can clearly see the movie has been directed by 2 directors. There are moments which are pure Geetu Mohandas and more moments which are straight out of Yash's playbook. One side wants a serious, honest story about family pain. The other side needs big action and hero moments to justify the money spent. The two never really come together. Every time the film settles into a real character moment, gunfire cuts it short. Every time an action scene builds up steam, the movie stops for a slow, dramatic speech. Trying to please both the serious film crowd and the mass audience at the same time, it ends up not fully winning over either one, which brings us to the 3 questions I mentioned earlier. First is Toxic Yash's Saaho. Saaho was Pravas's big swing after Bahubali, an insanely expensive, heavily hyped pan-India film that looked huge on the poster and fell apart the moment you tried to follow the story. That comparison holds up here, but only halfway. Saaho never had a performance strong enough to survive the mess around it. Toxic does. It's Toxic's Saaho moment, but with an actor actually earning your attention even when the film around him doesn't. Second, what is the toxic problem really? And I have discussed that in detail in the previous section. And third, what would have happened if Dhurandhar Part 2 and Toxic had released together? Both films were originally set to clash on the same date, March 19th. Toxic ended up getting pushed back twice, first to June, then to August, mostly because of the situation in the Middle East. By the time Toxic finally hit theaters, Dhurandhar had already come and gone with a strong opening and mostly positive reviews for a tighter, cleaner story. Honestly, I think Toxic dodged a bullet here. Going head to head against a better reviewed film on the same weekend, this version of Toxic would have gotten buried. The delay probably saved it from an even rougher opening. If Toxic had walked into that same weekend carrying the exact same editing problems it has now, critics and audiences would have had an immediate, sharper film to compare it against in real time.
Toxic.
धुरंधर the revenge तय करेगा.
So where does this leave Yash? This was his first film since KGF Chapter 2 in 2022, and honestly, since KGF Chapter 1 in 2018, long gaps between movies have become normal for him. He doesn't work often, but when he does, he goes big. Toxic costs somewhere between 600 and 800 crore rupees, making it one of the most expensive Indian films ever made, built from day one to be a worldwide release. That kind of ambition deserves credit even when the movie itself stumbles. Whether Toxic proves Yash can carry something bigger than KGF is up for debate, but it does prove he's not interested in playing it safe forever. His next movie is already set. Yash is playing Ravan in Nitish Tiwari's two-part Ramayana movie alongside Ranbir Kapoor as Lord Ram and Sai Pallavi as Ma Sita. Toxic put him front and center as a flawed hero you are still rooting for. Ravan flips that completely. He's the villain, a character everyone already knows the ending to, and it gives him a chance to bring a real weight and presence to the screen without leaning on the usual hero tricks. Toxic proves Yash still has range and still wants to take risks. What it doesn't prove is that ambition on its own is enough. This film had everything money can buy, and what it needed most was tighter editing and a script that trusted its audience more.
You're goddamn right.
That's my take on Toxic. Let me know your reaction in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my latest video on Sandeep Reddy Vanga right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.